Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's live. I appreciate y'all for joining in. If you've been following me for a while, you know I don't typically go live, but I figured let me do something different. All right. So again, we're gonna be talking about tonight alpha woman. Are you one? And the traits of one, and the dating realities that alpha women or alpha female face. Um, I'm going to be talking about it a little bit for a little bit, but then we will be doing Q&A. So make sure you stay on so you can ask your questions. I will be answering the questions and doing all that as well. Also, just want to quickly announce before we dive in, I started my new nonprofit, the Healing Generations Foundation. So any super chats, any donations given today on today's live is all going to the Healing Generations Foundation. It's a nonprofit that I set up to offer coaching and counseling for individuals. There's going to be a heavy emphasis on individuals who have gone through sexual abuse, but it's going to be for all individuals. But it's going to go beyond just giving coaching and counseling services. We're going to be creating a lot of programs, a lot of giving back to the community. So it's something that I'm very proud of. So again, any super chats and donations tonight will all go to my Healing Generations nonprofit. So let's get into it. Alpha woman. So this is a topic that I've heard or has been brought to me a lot of times, and I've spoken about it in many different ways. Now I can tell you right off the jump that there's a lot of perception versus reality when it comes to the alpha woman or the alpha female. So what I wanted to do is, before I interject or before I give my perspective, let me read y'all a couple definitions from online when it comes to the alpha female, the alpha woman. All right. And you can tell me if this fits you and you qualify or you would describe yourself as an alpha female. So the first simple one, where does this thing go? First simple one is: an alpha female is a powerful and successful woman, often in a leadership role. Alpha females are often described as intimidating by men and women alike. Now, that intimidating by men and women alike, we're going to get really deep into that. But the main part of this definition: alpha female is a powerful and successful woman, right? Now, let me read another one real quick. So, another definition of female alphas or alpha females is that they embrace their confidence, which makes them good leaders. Female alphas tend to believe in their ability to achieve. They are very ambitious, very confident in a way that's very contagious to others. They do have a lot of leadership qualifications or characteristics. They're recognized by others as being impactful, and I said it already, but I'll say it again: extremely ambitious. So, going off of that explanation of the alpha female, I think most of you will consider those good traits. You know what I'm saying? Successful, ambitious, ability to lead. So that is what it's defined as. But let me tell you what the perception of the alpha woman is, or not just perception, what a lot of alpha women end up giving off. All right. The energy that many have described, and I'll say it for myself, is difficult, dominant, very masculine. All right. Not cooperative. And what's the word? I don't want to say overly opinionated, because that's not a good word to use, but they're used to getting their way. So they're going to interject their perception, and they're used to getting their way. So some would argue that a lot of them are spoiled. Okay. I'm giving you what perception is that comes from a lot of men. Assertive. I said somebody else see it in the chat. Assertive and aggressive as well. And aggressive more specifically in regards to tone and how they speak to people. All right. Somebody else mentioned controlling. Controlling is another one. Y'all knocking out some good ones here. All right. A spirit of resistance I'm seeing. So this is what a lot give off. So now let's get back to what it was defined as: ambitious, good leadership, confident. Let's focus on those 2-3 things. And somebody else mentioned pushy. I hate to be jumping around, but y'all saying some good ones in the chat. Ambitious, leadership, confident. I would never tell any of you, any woman out there, to not be ambitious, confident, or even be able to lead, because those are really good qualities to have as a human being, period. All right. And in the right setting, which is the key here, in the right setting, they can take you far. They can be very effective and very efficient. And so typically, as was also mentioned, is that alpha women, alpha females tend to be successful women. And a lot of women feel that that has contributed to their ability to be successful is the fact that when they're operating, whether it be in the corporate field, whether it be as an entrepreneur, those qualities help in gaining respect, and being able to get things done. The problem becomes, because listen, we're talking about not just the traits, but the dating reality. The problem becomes a lot of women who are alphas or who fit this description struggle in dating and relationships. All right. And tend to not be attracting the type of men that they actually desire. So here's the problem. And it starts here. Most women, whether you consider yourself as an alpha female or not, most, if not damn near all women, desire a masculine man, desire what some may describe as an alpha man. You respect those qualities in a man. We're talking about ambitious, successful, able to lead, all right, and confident. And so the problem now becomes that putting an alpha woman and an alpha male in a relationship is not going to mix. Now, some of you may claim you know of people that this worked for, and I would argue, how long did it work? If it worked at all, how long did it work? Because what you will find is over the long run, it does not work. Now, if I'm going to be keeping it real with y'all, alpha men, alpha women can have great sex. Now, I'm not telling y'all to go out there and have no sex. This is not what we're pushing. I'm just simply saying, if we're talking reality, alpha women, alpha men can have great sex, but relationships, they do not do well because there is a clash. It is essentially like having two men in the relationship. Now, again, I am not saying you cannot be, as a woman, confident, ambitious, and all those things. But what I am saying is you got to be careful of what are you bringing that same energy into the relationship? All right. Are you learning that you're going to need a balance in the relationship, and not just in the relationship, in your life in general, to carry that energy? And again, I think it's fair to call it masculine energy in a lot of cases, can become a strong burden for a woman. And so now, how can you now get what you want out of this man when you're coming with this alpha energy? All right. Now, here's the reality. Many women who describe themselves as alpha females, alpha women, have no problem attracting passive men, feminine men, men who don't mind you being the leader, men who don't mind you carrying them in the relationship, men who will view you as a stabilizer to themselves, as basically a come up, because you possess the resources and the ability to now provide for them. And so it's not that an alpha woman or alpha female cannot get a man. It's her struggle to get the kind of man that she desires and can respect, because those men who will leech off of you, you don't really want. You're not really happy. Now, some of y'all have attempted to be in those types of relationships, but the reality is that, again, it will not work for the vast majority of people. Now, I always say this, because some women will say, well, I don't mind leading, I don't mind doing things, so on and so forth, right? But you have to ask yourself, will you be okay with this 6 months later, a year later, 5 years down the road? Because there's a very important quote that was once said that says, women marry for hoping that the man will change. Men marry hoping the woman will stay the same. So essentially, many of you have to ask yourself, if I'm getting with this man who is not an alpha, who is more passive, who is more feminine, right? And I think right now I'm okay with that. But will you be okay later on down the road? And not only will you be okay in the sense of being able to tolerate him in the relationship, because tolerating someone in a relationship will lead to the end of the relationship. No, you have to ask yourself, can I respect him? Can I still be sexually attracted to him? Can I give him what he's going to need from me in return? If the answer is no, then why the hell are you entertaining that? So, but I would argue, and I think most of you will agree, that most of you will acknowledge from the jump, you don't want that. You don't care for that. So now we have to figure out, okay, how can you, as a woman who either embodies these qualities or calls herself alpha, be able to get the kind of man you desire? And this goes back to balance. But before we even dive into balance, let me say this. Ask yourself as a woman, are you hiding behind the alpha label? Are you hiding behind your career? Are you hiding behind your pursuit of success financially? Because what has happened to a lot of women, all right, maybe you, may not be you, but what has happened to a lot of women is that you have either been hurt or seen hurt happen to others, right? And so what happens is, whatever age you are, you decide these men and these relationships ain't worth it. So I'm going to now focus all my energy on career. And the birth of the alpha woman has now happened, but not out of true purpose, not out of what you truly love, out of a fear of putting yourself out there, out of a negative perception of men and relationships. And the reason why it's important to understand what's at the root of your quote unquote alphaness, so to speak, is because if you are walking in that energy because you have run from relationships and men, then your ability to now get in touch with your feminine is severely compromised. Your willingness to actually adjust to now have a relationship is going to be very difficult unless we destroy the root cause or we heal from the root cause that has led you down this path. That's the reality of it. Because some of you might say, as alpha women or strong women or whatever you want to call it, that, well, if a man is masculine and a man is leading, I will follow, I will be able to walk in my feminine. And I will tell you that you're wrong. And I say that anything I say to y'all tonight or in any video is with love. It's never to speak down to you. It's never to make you feel bad. All right. I love all of y'all. I love the men. I love the women. I love people. I'm trying to help everyone break these negative cycles and get into healthier, better relationships. All right. But if you say, okay, you're going to be able to make the adjustment when the man comes, I'm going to say you're wrong. You're wrong because, one, you're not exuding the energy that would even draw him to you. You can't walk around saying or believing that men need to take the time to work past your walls and your layers to figure out that you can be feminine and loving and all these things within the relationship. That's like that's like a man saying that if he walks around looking broke, looking like he has nothing going on in his life, that women should entertain him and learn and peel the layers to find out that he actually has something going on for himself. Like, yo, you can't do that. You've got to exude the correct energy. You got to present yourself as who you truly are, not for people to have to figure it out. All right. But then to go deeper than that, even if you successfully find a man who's willing to try to move past your wall, all right, the reality is that he can never fully bring it down. If your wall is there because of what you've been through or what you've seen, that means you can be easily triggered. And what's going to happen is, if he is the perfect man, and of course no one is perfect, but if he is a man that is coming with it, he is doing everything he can do. Your trauma, your hurt is going to say, nah, something's wrong here. This can't be real. This man is setting me up. He is going to play me at some point. Your willingness to embrace that is going to go away. Not to mention that if you have become conditioned to walking in this alpha energy, this masculine energy, being around the man who can lead you, being around the man, and when I say lead you, please know I mean lead you with love, not lead you to be your dictator, not try to just control you and run your life, not trying to be abusive. No, leading with love, leading with looking being mindful of what's in the best interest of both parties. All right. The man who is able to be respected in your life and lead you in that way, you're going to find yourself naturally, yes, being feminine. So he will pull out some feminine energy. But when you're conditioned to masculinity, when you're conditioned to being alpha, being in your feminine can become very scary, because being in your feminine makes you very vulnerable. All right. And in order to have an amazing relationship, in order to see things succeed, you're going to have to embrace vulnerability. So now, if you have not practiced that in advance, you're going to find yourself feeling like you're losing yourself when dealing with this man. And the reality won't be that you're losing yourself. You will actually be finding your true self. You will be finding the true woman in you that you suppressed the whole time. But you will phrase it as, I'm losing myself, because who you have conditioned yourself to be, who you have led yourself to believe you are, it will now be challenged. You will have to reevaluate things in a way that's like, what the hell is going on right now? And so instead, you are more than likely either going to sabotage the relationship, all right, or simply push the man away. I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people are always hearing about women saying they ain't no good men and all these things, and all these men ain't serious. Listen, there's a lot of women, and some of them might be you on this video, on this chat right now, who have met that amazing man, but your trauma, your fears led to you self-sabotaging or pushing this dude away. So you cannot wait to meet the guy to try to figure things out. You, as, again, an alpha woman, and that's what we're talking about, even though, yes, whether you want to call it alpha woman, strong woman, I don't give a damn what label you put on it, all right? If you are walking more in masculine energy than in your femininity, you've got to start working on that now. You've got to heal, all right? And you got to make sure you're finding your true self, because some of you, I feel the need, sometimes things hit my spirit, I got to say it. Some of you are walking as alpha women. I mentioned earlier because you use it, you're hiding behind it due to not wanting to put yourself out there. But some of you are walking in it because of society. Some of you are walking in it because family and friends said, don't rely on no man. Family and friends or society said, you need to do this with yourself. Family, friends, and society said, you shouldn't be a housewife. Now, listen, I'm not here to tell y'all that you have to be a housewife. I'm here to tell you, if that's what your heart truly desires, if that's what speaks to your spirit, then F what society has to say. F what anyone has to say. I'm not here to tell you which one to be. I'm here to tell you to tap into your true self. And for some of y'all's true desire is to be that homemaker, is to be a woman that can take care of her kids, live with her partner, enjoy herself in that way. If that's you, embrace that. Do not let society shame you for wanting to be a homemaker, for wanting to be a housewife. I hear it too many times now. And so many women are only trying to push this career or these ambitions or all these things because, well, I gotta do this because I don't want people to think otherwise of me. No, do not live shackled to the perceptions of other individuals. I want you to tap into your true self. And yes, part of your true self is your feminine energy. Now, let me say this, because you've heard me say heal, all right? If you have one real quick, again, thank you for everyone who's given the super chats and making the donations. Like I said, every super chat and donation given today will go to my nonprofit organization, Healing Generations Foundation, where, again, we're going to be giving counseling and coaching services and doing other community projects. There's a lot I'm going to be doing with this nonprofit. So thank you for everyone who gives to that. And like I said, in a few, we're going to start the Q&A as well. So I will be answering questions from the chat room. I lost my train of thought. But the point is, going back to, healing. My bad, healing. So I've been saying healing a lot. So if you've been following me for a while, then you might know about my book, Love After Heartbreak. Check it out. When this is done, I'll put the link in the description, right? But let me give y'all a first step. Some of y'all may already know it, but if you don't, you're going to hear it right now. The way to get started with the healing process is, when you get an opportunity, get a piece of paper. On that piece of paper, I want you to write down who hurt me. And then I want you to ask yourself that question, who hurt me? All right. And now anyone who comes to mind, write them on the paper. Doesn't matter how long ago it happened. Doesn't matter if you think you moved past it. Doesn't matter if you don't think it's relevant. If it comes to mind when you ask yourself that question, put it on the paper and a couple sentences of what they did to hurt you. This is a great way to start to recognize what hurt you've been holding on to. All right. And start to address that. And there's more steps to it. Again, check the book out. But also, don't be afraid to go to a counselor. Don't be afraid to go to a coach. Get the assistance you need, but you've got to heal. And please understand, though today's video is focusing on women and alpha women and all that, healing is a message I give to the men as well. And it's not that only women have to work on themselves. Do not misconstrue this video as saying that. No. Both men have to do their work and women have to do their work. Both sides are going to have to heal. Both sides have to recognize the energy they're going to have to put out there to get not only what they desire, but to create healthy relationships. But today's video is on the women. I have videos on my channel for men, and there will be more for men, more books for men, all that. But just wanted to put that out there. So now going back to alpha woman, alpha female, strong woman, whatever you want to call it. All right. Again, understand some of y'all may say, well, why can't it be where the woman does lead the relationship, right? Or no, better yet, why can't it be 50-50? Some of y'all like this 50-50 stuff. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't believe in 50-50. And the reason why I don't believe in 50-50 is because I don't believe it ever actually plays out that way, number one. And here's the reason why I say that. Let's look at people who say, well, we can go 50-50 on the bills and 50-50 on the chores and all this stuff. If you were to study 50-50 relationships, in vast majority of cases, if not all of them, at some point, the burden is going to shift to the woman. And what I mean by that is, even if it's 50-50, and let's say y'all splitting the bills and splitting the chores, at some point, it's the woman actually either doing more of the chores or even carrying more of the bills. Can it happen the other way? It's possible, but in most cases, it ends up falling on the woman. And she ends up becoming resentful of that, of course, all right, burdened by that, which now creates other issues in the relationship. You also have to understand that even 50-50 from a leadership standpoint will shift to the woman, because what will happen is, for example, let's say it's always, okay, we have to come together to make these decisions. Well, men tend to operate from a very logical place. And again, I use the word tend to operate because it can be different in certain situations. But typically, the men are operating from a very logical place. The women may operate a little bit more from an emotional place. Of course, you can think with logic too, but emotions are going to be a part of the game here. Either way, in that moment, if that woman feels very strongly about what she thinks needs to happen, she is typically going to impose that on that man. And if he don't go with what she says, he knows he's going to face a headache. And so what typically now happens is the man becomes conditioned to, I have to do what she says if I want to keep peace. It's whatever she wants. You know what I'm saying? And now what will happen is he will always look to her to make the decision, but she will now start to become frustrated with him because it's always on her. It's always expected of her to lead, even though she doesn't realize she may have set the stage for that. There's a lot more I can say to this, but the point is, it typically does not work in the long run. There's typically going to be a clash of these two individuals when you attempt to go it from that angle. So again, as I said earlier, you have to ask yourself, not can I deal with it today? Can I deal with it a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? Because this is what's going to happen. And let's be real. Some of you may say, well, if he does give me my way, that's cool. Nah, because if he becomes a yes man, you won't respect him. Bottom line, you will lose respect for him. And again, the burden will now be on you. And that burden will cause stress. That burden will cause a lack of intimacy in the relationship. That burden will cause negative energy to creep in the household. It will throw so many things off. So you really have to make sure you are setting the stage for what you actually desire. So ultimately, and we're going to get into the Q&A in a second, it's balance. It's healing. It's balance. It's making sure that if you are an alpha woman, strong woman, whatever, you are exuding the energy that's going to get you what you desire. Because masculine men, alpha men, are more drawn to feminine energy. All right. And I'm going to make this last point, and then we're going to do this Q&A. Because some of you might be asking, well, I need a little bit more about feminine energy. How do we explain that? I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I will say this. I'll give this example. When you look at a lot of women, some women may say, well, I'm not that feminine, right? Put a lot of women around kids and they become super feminine, charming, loving, vulnerable, sweet, all that stuff. Put that same woman around a man, feminine energy gone. She shut the whole thing down. Walls are up. Like I said, she got snipers on the roof. Like everything changes now. And the reason is because she views the kids as harmless. So she's allowed herself to be vulnerable around children. But she doesn't bring that same energy to men because she views men as dangerous, as harmful to her feelings. And that's what causes the wall to go up. So in reality, it's not even for a lot of women learning how to be feminine. It's about being comfortable being yourself, because at the core of who you are, you're yourself around those kids. Again, for many of you that this applies to, you're yourself around those kids. You have to learn how to be yourself around men too. When you can bring that same energy, that's it right there. It's tapping into that vulnerable side of you, and understanding for those who are believers that you don't have to guard your heart, as in stop anyone from being able to hurt you. You got to trust God with your heart and walk in your true self and walk in your true energy. And in doing that, you're going to receive what's truly best for you. You're going to be able to see the type of guy you desire and all that. So, somebody says, sounds complicated. It's not complicated. All right. It may sound like a lot right now, but I'm telling you, let me say this. All right. And then for real, we're going to get to the Q&A. This ain't just about men. This ain't just about attracting a man. Your quality of life will increase when you learn how to tap more into your feminine, when you learn to get to the root of why you are who you are, when you learn to heal. These things will allow you to enjoy life at a higher level. It would allow you to also be more healthy, because what you don't realize is a lot of this stuff for some of you is emotional stress you're holding on to, and it's wreaking havoc on the inside of you. So please understand, though we talk a lot about dating and relationships and you being able to find the kind of guy you desire, forget all that for a second. For you, for the sake of your life and the quality that you're trying to live and the happiness and peace that you desire, I would still want you to dive deep into this. I would still want you to do the work. I would still encourage you to take the necessary steps. All right. Now, let's get into this Q&A. So feel free to ask questions in the chat room. For typically in the past, I've only let the people who super chatted to ask a question. But for today, anyone's free to ask a question. So just submit it. But of course, I'll catch what I can catch. Let's see here. All right. I'm most comfortable in my feminine energy, but can pivot to alpha real quick. As a divorced mom of young kids and professional, I truly healed in Christ. Where to find the secure alpha men of God? All right. So when you're let me say that. I'm trying to find the right words. When you are walking in your true positive and feminine energy, all right, the opportunities and people start coming your way. So you mentioned that you know how to pivot to the alpha, but I want you to make sure, are you walking in the feminine? Is that your dominant energy? Because here's the reality, and let me also make this clear. We all have masculine and feminine energy within us, men and women, all right? But the game is not the game. The understanding has to be one can only be your dominant energy. They can't both be your dominant energy. One must be your dominant. And I would argue that for men, the masculine has to be their dominant. For the woman, the feminine has to be her dominant. And that will create the most success in both of their lives, both as individuals and for relationship purposes. So you got to make sure, is that truly the dominant energy that you're giving off? All right. And then from there, as far as meeting other alpha men, again, I really think that you will naturally start to see it happen. Now, again, it can take more time than others. And right now, with the whole pandemic or whatever you want to call it going around, going out is not as depending on the state you're in, because some states are wide open, or some cities are wide open. But depending on where you are, going out can be a lot more difficult. And so I can't sit here and say, well, there's a specific place to go to. I think you got to live your life. I am a believer that online dating can work, but we're not going to dive into online dating today. We'll talk about that in a different video, right? But I think ultimately just focusing on being your true self and giving off that true energy, it will happen. You will start to see you attract those people your way a lot more often. But also as women, you got to understand that there's more to what a man desires than just being like femininity is a big deal. Don't get me wrong. It is the biggest key, in my opinion, if you're trying to attract the alpha male. But there's a lot more for us to discuss when trying to attract that guy. All right. And you know what? I have a video, what is it? 7 proven ways to attract high quality men. So when this live is done, go check that out and it'll break down some of the more traits and qualities you need to have if that's the type of guy you desire in your life. All right. This question says, I'm definitely an alpha woman. Why are men intimidated by my demeanor and don't step up, but rather step out? All right. So there's two ways we have to look at this. Why are men intimidated by alpha women? Number one, in many cases, I'm not saying all, but in many cases, it's not intimidation. It's an unwillingness to deal with you. And so I don't want you to take offense to that, but I want you to understand that, listen, a man who is alpha or a man who desires a certain kind of woman, if he senses that energy for you, again, that comes off as difficult. Like, why would he want to deal with that? It's almost like if a passive feminine man said, "Why are women passing me up? They don't know how to handle a soft man like me." You'd be like, "No, it ain't about can't handle you. It's you wouldn't want to deal with him. That's not what you're attracted to. So you're gonna pass him over." Well, the typical man is not attracted to that. All right. Especially if he's a man, more specifically, when he's a man who has his stuff together, when he can be considered as alpha or masculine, he's not drawn to that type of energy. So he's not going to want to deal with you. All right. But yes, are there some men who are quote unquote intimidated? Yes, but I would argue that those men are not masculine men or alpha men. They're maybe somewhere in the middle. All right. Or they may be passive men who may feel like you're just too much for them. They don't stack up to you. All right. But ultimately, you have to ask yourself, understand this. You can be a confident woman. You can be a woman who has all these qualities, but are you coming off as negative and difficult? You got to be mindful of how you come across, not how you just see yourself. How do you come across? Because many of us are not always mindful of the energy that we're giving off. Again, some women will say to me, well, I am a feminine woman. Yeah, but when people see you, they don't see that. They're not getting that from you. So are you tapping into that? Are you exuding that? And do you know how to operate in it when you are around men and in those situations? Because you said not only are they say they won't step up, they'll step out. So it sounds like some men are engaging with you, but then they're figuring, nah, I ain't trying to deal with this woman. This is too much. And they go. And so you really got to ask yourself, okay, what am I bringing to that situation that's pushing these men away? How can I create that better balance? Have you healed? And all the other things that we talked about earlier in this video. Let's see here. All right. I see someone else that said, we have been pushed to being dominant. I will acknowledge that a lot of women have been put in positions where they have to tap into their masculine, or feel like they have to tap into their masculine. At the very least, they feel like they have to. And they're in a situation where they have to lead, they have to do for themselves. They can't worry about relying on anybody right now. Completely understand that. However, you cannot let you again, it's all about learning how to use it when it's necessary. So there's another video I have from a long time ago where I tell women, don't call yourself an independent woman, but understand you're a woman who knows how to be independent. And I say it like that because I say you have to recognize it as a skill, not as who you are. All right. You're a woman who knows how to be alpha rather than I'm just an alpha woman. This is me. Because when you say this is me, then it's like, I can't come out of this. I can't operate out of this energy and this mindset. No, you can. You can make that choice, but you have to first reprogram your thinking. You are not that. You are a feminine woman who knows how to tap into the alpha, who knows how to tap into when you got to lead and be masculine. And there's nothing wrong with that, because there's going to be moments where that's very useful, but you are not that. So change how you view yourself and understand that at the end of the day, you've got to dictate to the world that what you want in return. So it's like when people say, well, I give the energy that people give me. So essentially you're saying you're letting other people dictate to you how to behave, dictate to you how to move forward. That's not strength. That's not a positive thing. No, you got to say, no, I'm going to dictate to the world the energy I want to put out and what I expect in return. And if you don't honor that, I won't deal with you. If you don't honor that, I will not remain in this environment. All right, because I'm going to stay in the energy I want. So it's like for me as a man, all right, or any man who might be watching this, for us to say, well, we're going to, we're pushed to be feminine. I don't give a damn about what we're pushed to do. No, if you know masculinity is in you, and it is, all right, and you want to walk in that, then you walk in that. And if they don't respect your masculinity, don't entertain them. Don't stay in that environment. So to both men and women, you have to decide what your energy is going to be, and you dictate that to the world, and you don't let people or things take you away from that. And if they try to, get them out the way. But again, yes, we have to understand that we have to be able to tap into both sides when necessary, but one must be dominant. Choose wisely. Let's see here. Okay, I see this comment and I got to respond. It says, I don't know how to be weak. I'll let the right one lead when I feel he won't lead us astray. So first things first, femininity is not weakness. Femininity is power. It is serious power when you know how to use it. So this is not me telling you to be weak. It's me telling you to understand your strengths, to understand where your peace will be found. So let's talk about this real quick in the sense of letting a man lead, because you mentioned that you will let a man lead when you're confident he will not lead you astray. First, understand though, if you're coming into it with a negative perception, then you're not even going to allow him to have the opportunity to show you he can lead. It will be a struggle from day one. And again, if he is masculine, if he is alpha, he is not going to want to engage in that struggle. If he senses too much resistance from the jump, he may not bother. So you're shooting yourself in the foot if you don't know how to walk into it ready to allow him to show that he can do that. And then if he shows himself unworthy, then you remove yourself from the situation. Then you don't entertain them. But you can't just hold on to your walls and think he's going to have to jump over that to show you he can lead. It won't work out that way. Now, again, going back to this whole point of weakness. So let me paint this picture. As a woman, you're with a man who genuinely is serious about you. He has real intentions, all right? And he's trying to lead. And he says, well, I think we need to do this way. You allowing him to lead, there's no weakness there. If anything, think about how peaceful that is. Think about how refreshing it is to know you are with a partner who is trying to look out for the best interest of the both of you and who is capable of doing so. Where is the weakness? There's no weakness there. And again, I would argue on the flip, not a flip side, but from a different angle, being feminine. Have y'all ever seen a woman who calls everyone baby, sweetheart, honey, always uses terms of endearment? Do you ever see her struggle to get a man to do something for her? Like, she could get a dude to wash her car, paint her house, carry her groceries. Why? Because she knows how to talk to a man. She knows how to exude that feminine energy. It actually gets her more than anything. So tell me, how can that woman be viewed as weak? How is she weak when she's actually getting more out of life and men than the woman who's being too masculine? That's not weakness. It's strength. It's strength. It is power, to be honest with you. It's a beautiful thing. And when it's used in a healthy way, not to manipulate, because I ain't trying to tell y'all to use it to manipulate and play men. Please don't get it twisted. But when it is used correctly with genuine intention, it can create an amazing, balanced relationship. And that's what y'all want. So let's tap into that. Let's see here. And again, just a quick reminder, all donations, super chats will be going to my nonprofit, the Healing Generations Foundation. All right. So let's see here. All right. So another comment was, some men think strength is letting them do whatever. And this is where I think things have gotten so mixed up. Please understand that I am not advocating for men to lead you to where they get to be dictator or they have free reign to do whatever the hell they want in the relationship. That is not what we're talking about here. And we've got to understand that men who operate in that way, simply trying to control you, get away with whatever they want to get away with, all right, and expect you to just do as they say. That's a symptom of you dealing with the wrong man. That's not a symptom of an alpha man. That's a symptom of dealing with the wrong man. All right. And you've got to recognize the difference, because the man who genuinely cares about you, genuinely loves you, he cares about how you feel. He does care about your opinion. All right. He does want to hear what you have to say. And I would encourage men, that's what you got to hear her out. But ultimately, you can't be trying to run him. You can't be trying to control him. So you got to ask yourself, in one sense, yes, we don't want you to be quote unquote controlled, but I also don't want you to flip it and try to control him either. And that's not going to work. If he's an alpha masculine man, it's not going to work. So again, it's not about letting him do whatever. If he tries to get away with doing whatever he wants, then recognize it for what it is. A man who's not serious, you address it. If he doesn't correct it, you let him go. End of story. But you don't go through that and now look at every man as every man who wants to be a leader as, oh, well, he's just going to try to control me. Oh, he's just trying to get away with whatever. That's not the intentions of every man. Plain and simple. There are plenty of men who simply want to lead with love. That's it. That's what we're talking about here. So recognize that. And let me say one quick thing before I move to the next question. Trust your intuition. A lot of times it's not like some situations, your intuition is telling you this guy's not it, but you're moving past that and still entertaining this man. And then when it blows up in your face, you're now projecting this negative experience onto other men. No, you should have trusted your intuition. It told you this guy wasn't it. On the flip side, there's some situations where your intuition is telling you you belong here, or this guy is good for you. But then your fear creeps in and tells you to run for the damn hills. Tells you, nah, I can't trust no man. Nah, no man can lead me. No, coming up with all kinds of negative perceptions that now self-sabotage the relationship. So please start to understand the difference between your fears and your intuition. I want you to listen to your intuition, but I want you to resolve these deep-rooted fears that, again, come from a lack of healing. Let's see here. Someone said, when should we trust intuition? Right away? I believe so. I believe you should trust intuition right away. I think as women, You've got to practice listening to your intuition, not just with men, in every aspect of your life. Become comfortable with tapping into your intuition and listening to it. And so now when it does speak to you in moments of dating or whatever, it's not a foreign thing for you to embrace and listen to it. So you got to do it when it comes to your business, when it comes to your kids, when it comes to your love life. It don't matter what it is. When your intuition speaks, listen. Listen. Let's see here. Can a beta man work into becoming an alpha? Yes, it is. It is extremely not even just possible. It happens all the time. There, as men evolve, I think if you speak to a lot of men who can be called alpha men today, they were once quote unquote beta males. Many of, and maybe some weren't, but most I would argue had to evolve and had to learn some things to really walk into their masculine energy. What you have to be careful with, though, is can he pull that off if you get into a romantic relationship with him? This is where I think you undermine the evolution of a man. And this is why I would tell a man, yo, if you haven't found yourself yet, don't jump into a relationship, because it's very easy as human beings that if we're essentially being rewarded, because in a relationship, you're getting the rewards of one. And so now that takes away some of the incentive of digging deeper into ourselves and growing as human beings. It's almost like if you give somebody too much money when they're young, they may never develop the work ethic and the things necessary to truly be successful, all right, in life, because they had it handed to them. And so if you hand to a quote unquote beta male or underdeveloped male a relationship, it can undermine his willingness and ability to grow. Not to mention, here's the thing. So many of you guys, this will resonate with you. Have you noticed that as you become successful, or when you start a business or you start a new career, sometimes the people who have the hardest time supporting you are family and friends, right? It's like that. I cannot get my family and friends to support me when you're doing this new venture or whatever. And one of the reasons is because people who knew you before you became successful, before you jumped into that journey, are holding on to the previous image of you, the image of the person who may have made mistakes, the person who maybe didn't always follow through with certain things. And so they have a harder time embracing who you're becoming or who you've now become. And so the same thing can happen in a relationship where, as a woman, you get with a guy who quote unquote is a beta guy. And now as he tries to assert himself in the relationship, you still remember the beta him. You still remember the guy who did not develop. And so now you may struggle to respect the new him. You also have to ask yourself, if you allowed yourself to be in a relationship with him before he developed, was it due to you being genuinely attracted to him and having a real connection? Or did you choose him because it was safer? Because many of you will choose a man who is, again, what do you call it, beta, passive, feminine, whatever. You choose that man out of safety. You choose that man because you do have greater power and leverage in that situation, and you think that will work to your advantage, but it actually will not. It will actually blow up in your face. But if you got into it for that reason, you will struggle when he now becomes more alpha. And to give a quick example, there was a man that I once spoke to who got married, and when he got married, he didn't have his finances together. He had not evolved in his masculinity, right? And his wife accepted this. At least that's what it looked like. But he had it in his head like, nah, I'm going to work towards being better. So luckily for her, well, I want to say luckily for her, but hear the whole story. He decided to push forward. Fast forward, let's say 5 years later, he got a great job. He's making money now. He can provide for her. He's evolved more into his masculine. And he told me how now every time he tried to pay bills, every time he tried to do for her, every time he asserted himself, She took issue with it. Because the reality was that she did not want, she wanted to be in the position where she felt like she had leverage over this man. It was due to a deeper rooted issue in her where she felt like it'd be safer as long as she has that leverage. But now that he is a desirable man, now that he is in his mask, now that he can provide, it was starting to intimidate her. And lo and behold, after he tried to make it work with this woman, it ended in divorce. So you've got to really ask yourself from the jump, why are you even being with the guy if it's not from a genuine place and it ain't going to work regardless? All right. But to answer the original question, a man can become alpha even if he is currently beta. That definitely can happen. Let's see here. My apologies. The chat's moving so fast, so I'm trying to like catch a question, all right, that I can answer because there's a lot coming in here. But let me see. And some of these questions are repeat. So please understand some of your questions may have been answered already. So when I'm done with the live, I will be posting it on my page. So you will be able to watch the live and catch everything that you may have missed from the beginning. Let's see here. Someone says, Stephan, isn't that part of the problem? Women being way too dominant. Yes, I do believe that it is part of the problem. And again, I say that from the place of being too dominant as a woman doesn't attract the kind of man that you desire. So it undermines the woman. For the man, again, because a lot of men are not attracted to that, it creates a conflict within the relationship. If you attempt to put two dominant people together, that becomes a conflict. So I do think that being too dominant and letting that consume you, all right, and define you, it just doesn't work. But I would also add, from outside of a relationship perspective, that a lot of times being too dominant is about trying to be too controlling. All right. And that attempt to be too controlling is again because you fear letting go, taking your hands off of situations and allowing yourself to just flow and embrace your true self. And so again, I would argue that for a lot of women who have to be so dominant, it's stressful. It may not be stress in the way that you understand stress, but it is stressful to the body. Trying to control is stressful. All right. Even as men, as human beings, we gotta learn that there's only a certain level of control we should embrace, because some things are just simply out of our control. We can't do anything about it. And I would want you to not dwell on or focus on the things that you can't control, but also understand that sometimes we have to let life happen. It doesn't mean, of course, be mindful of certain things, create proper boundaries in life. That there is stuff that to be mindful of. But I do think this idea of control, it's out of a place of fear. All right. And that works against so many people. But yes, it is a problem for a lot of women. And again, not to sound like a broken record, it is a symptom for many of a lack of healing. So healing is going to always be a huge key to this. And yes, we can only control ourselves, not others. That's the other thing. Like, we can't control what other people do. And with that, we have to understand that we're all human. We're going to fall short sometimes. People will make mistakes, but know the difference between someone who is blatantly doing wrong, blatantly operating in an unhealthy, toxic manner versus someone who makes some mistakes but is willing to work on things and make things better. Be willing to communicate, be willing to address the issues. Just don't be so quick to, I got to cut them off the first time I see something wrong. No, talk about it. And then if it's not corrected, then cut them off. Let's see here. What else we got? All right, this comment says so many people don't want to do the work to heal, so they will keep going to the same test over and over. Absolutely. And that's the problem. And I'm hoping many of you watching tonight just don't listen, that you actually take some of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And if any of you are questioning what's being said, or maybe, it's rubbing you the wrong way, and that's not my intention. But if it is, maybe it's because it's stirring something in you and you need to dig deeper. But for those of you who are believers, pray about what you heard tonight. Watch the video again and pray before you watch it, and really take in what is for you. You know what I'm saying? But don't run from it. And we all have to do work. Again, this ain't about only women have to do work. Men and women have to do the work within themselves. Individuals, human beings have to do the work. If you want better results in your life, it starts with you. Not, well, this person this, or these people that, women this, men that. No, you first. Handle that. And when you do, I'm telling you, you're going to see better things happening in your life. All right, so this person says, what's the difference between an independent woman and being an alpha woman? Is there a difference? So I would say that in most cases, the independent woman and alpha woman, there's a correlation. They kind of collide and they end up being the same person. But I do think it's possible to be an independent woman, but not be an alpha woman, in the sense that an independent woman is a woman who's just always just doing for herself, and does not know how to let people do for her. It's not, because that's the key thing here is, again, we're going to be in some situations where we have to do for ourselves. That's life. But when you struggle to let people do for you, this is where it becomes a problem, because in relationships, it does not thrive off of independence. It thrives off of interdependence. We have to be able to rely on each other. We have to be able to do for each other. And to go deeper than that, doing for each other is a way that we express love. So when you operate too independently in a relationship dynamic, you are choking the ability to receive love from that person. You are stopping their way of communicating to you, I love you, because you're not letting them do for you. And if people don't feel like they can do for you, they're valued, that their love can flow freely, that can create a problem, and that can derail the whole relationship. So that's where independence comes in. But again, alpha, and let me say this, you can be an independent woman, but doesn't mean you are necessarily the most ambitious woman. It's just you just do you for yourself. You just handle your business. You just go about it, your own way. But I think alpha gets more into the confidence and the ambition and all these different things. But again, I think both independent women and alpha women tend to experience the same struggle with dating, because whether you're one or the other or both, you tend to end up exuding a masculine energy. That's the key common denominator. Both of those types of women, all right, end up exuding more masculine energy, which then works against them as far as the type of man they actually desire in their life. So it still goes back to, you're going to have to find ways to exude that positivity, that femininity, the things that will work more to your benefit. But again, not just for the sake of attracting a man, but for you, for your life. All right. Removing and releasing that stress from yourself as much as you can. Let me see here. And so somebody said, alpha woman doesn't even sound right. Too masculine. And yet, listen, I'm going to be real honest with y'all. When I see a woman call herself an alpha woman or use that label, it immediately, yes, it speaks masculine energy to me. And there was a time where if I even saw that label on you anywhere, I'm like, I'm not even going to bother talking to this person. Like, now I do understand that how people perceive it is different. So I will no longer simply like, I wouldn't talk to her because she uses the label of alpha woman. But I do think that, yes, the term itself exudes masculine energy. And so from the jump, it's like, yo, honestly, I wouldn't even want you ladies to use that term. You know, I think, yes, you are able to embody certain qualities, but I think words have power. And so when we use certain words to describe ourselves or define ourselves, we got to be careful, because then we end up projecting that and giving that off to people, and that can work against us big time. So be mindful of that. So again, you know what? That's going to be it for tonight. Thank you all for joining this live. I'll try to do some more every now and then, but I can't promise anything right now. But I will be posting the video on the channel, so you can check it out to make sure you caught everything that was in it. But thank you again, once more time. Anyone who makes a donation, it's all going to my nonprofit, the Healing Generations Foundation. But you guys have a wonderful and blessed night. I will see you next time.